Welcome to the Men's Room Show. In tonight's episode, the men will be sharing how they go about having crucial conversations that lead to better interpersonal relationships. And so tonight in the house, I've got RJ Horner, and he is a men's empowerment coach. And I've got a new panelist, and I've got Ani here, and he's a men's testosterone authority. So welcome to tonight. Before we get started, I'm going to be sharing that the Men's Room Show is a weekly live show that creates a space for men to feel safe expressing their emotions in a vulnerable way. It is a place where men can come to be seen, heard, and acknowledged without feeling judged or afraid to show sides of themselves that are different than society's expectations. We aim to educate, inspire, empower, and advocate. And our show is created out of inspiration from my role as an International Men's Day USA ambassador and member of the Voice of Men 360 nonprofit organization founded in 2020 and is based in Toronto, Canada. These groups exist for the purpose of providing services for boys and men to overcome life's challenges. And so without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to RJ Horner, and he's going to speak to a few things.
Yeah, welcome. Again, I love what we're doing here, and you say it's a safe space, and absolutely it is. It's for us to be able to just be free to discuss things that affect us, that affect men, and it takes bravery to be able to step up and come out and talk about some of the conversations that we have in this community, and there's why. The topic we have tonight, crucial conversations. In other words, those conversations, when we think of crucial, that's what does that mean? It means it's necessary. These are the conversations that are necessary to have, whether, work, life, relationships, things that are important to us. So again, I'm a men's empowerment coach, and I've been focused on men's work. So I'm very proud of what you put together here, Linda. We're doing some great work. And today, so I have a fellow colleague who is helping me with my men's issues as well. Because again, once we get to be men over 40 and approaching 50 and 60, our health is very important to us. So my friend and colleague, Ani Railkar, is joining us today. So, and he's a men's testosterone authority. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Ani, before we get into the discussions tonight.
Sure. Thank you, RJ and Linda, for inviting me. I really appreciate it, and it's a pleasure to be here. So I am the award-winning author of the book, The Great Testosterone Myth, Honest Facts, No Hype. And the reason I decided to write this book is, I work in the pharmaceutical industry, and after I turned 30, going towards my 40s, I started noticing that, I was getting tired easily. I was putting on abdominal fat, etc. And I started looking into it. And then I talked to my doctor and realized that my testosterone was low. And so I decided to research that, as a good scientist, look into that. And that's how I decided to write the book. So as we go along, we'll talk more in detail, RJ, but I hope that was a good introduction.
Absolutely, because look, let's talk male testosterone for a second. Because it is a crucial conversation, and often with the crucial conversations, we tend to ignore them, right? We tend to, I don't need to worry about that. I don't need to discuss that. I don't need to see my doctor about that. But let's face it, talking about that with people or seeing your doctor can be a game changer, right? It can change your not only your overall health, but your mentality, your mindset, and maybe your virility too.
That is correct. So, and many times we think that it won't happen to me or it's going to happen to the other guy. Many times we are maybe not comfortable talking about this. And so I think the point you brought up, RJ, is that, this is something that is a part of our natural life, a part of aging. But just because it's part of aging doesn't mean you cannot try to fix it. Like when our eyesight gets bad, we get glasses, or when our, hearing goes bad, we get hearing aids. So why not try to fix testosterone when it goes low instead of saying, oh, it's part of aging, it's going to go down anyway, so why would I bother working on it? So I think even though it's part of natural aging, uh, we should try to work on it because the benefits are uh, really very good from that point of view.
Mhm. So, and is it something that whether you're a single man or a married man, is that something that affects you differently? Is there a difference, or can everybody be affected by this?
Well, not everybody gets affected by it. Everybody, as you go over 30, every male starts losing 1% of their testosterone per year. So uh, it doesn't matter whether you're married. It's not related to your marital status or race or, social economic status, whatever. It's as a male, as you get older, you're going to lose testosterone. Now, some people lose it more than others. And there are actually medical guidelines on what the minimum testosterone level should be. But, just like anything else, right? Cholesterol or high blood pressure or something like that. Uh, People are going to get it. Some people are going to be borderline. Some people are going to be high. So the same thing happens with testosterone. Some people are going to lose a lot more testosterone than other people, but everybody usually will lose testosterone after 30.
Not just, for my own sake, I was curious because again, like I'd like to believe I have still a healthy testosterone level. You know what I mean? I still think I'm very much, a man, capable of, hormonal, strength, so to speak. You know what I mean? But it's something we worry about. We question: am I man enough? You know what I mean? Am I pleasing my partner? Am I, healthy enough? These are all questions we do have, and so I just wondered if it's something that's part of the relationship experience, or if it's something that affects single men. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So Linda, you're our guide along this journey. Do you have any questions, or because I love the topic of crucial conversations, obviously, but you're our guide through this. So what do you have for us?
I was actually wanting to go down the where we just started because it organically came up, and I guess before we get on to the crucial conversation part, just by you having that crucial conversation with your physician, so you could talk to someone about something that people don't necessarily see. Different conditions you can see on the outside, but this is a condition that you wouldn't necessarily see. And the fact that you would put it into a book so other people could learn about it, I just want to applaud you for doing that, because I think that is something that's so important about any type of health, that it isn't always the physical. And so doing that, definitely want to have an episode where we can go into the curiosity questions about your topic, because I'm thinking, okay, my husband is approaching that time too, where that might be of interest, and I have no idea if he knows that he should even be checked into that or not. How would I even know? And so as his partner, I would want to know. And so we'll definitely have you in on that topic so we can go deeper into it. So we're gonna
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. So we're going to shift back into the question that I have about crucial conversations. And so I just wanted to ask the question right out of the gate: what are the best steps for a man to use in having a healthy crucial conversation with someone? And yes, this isn't necessarily a gender issue, but I want to hear it from a man's perspective. What things that other men could learn from you about how to have that conversation? Because it's always about how do I, not that there's not usually a disagreement that we should be having there.
Ani, do you have thoughts on this topic? And I'll let you go first because I do have some thoughts on it. But
I think if we are talking about conversations that make you uncomfortable or conversations that are difficult to have, but they need to be had. So I'm not sure if there is a perfect formula for when you can have this conversation, but I would say sooner rather than later. And also, uh, you know, make sure that you realize that whoever you're talking to, if it's a close family member, your spouse, your sibling, whoever it is, uh, they love you. They care about you. They will do anything to help. But so I think you should have that conversation sooner rather than later. And I would say, uh, just go into the conversation as quickly as you can. Like for example, uh, uh, I was having some issues with my job, and uh, I was not sure how I can talk to my wife about it. But then I was like, okay, if I don't talk to her and if something happens to my job, she's going to eventually find out, so uh, might as well have the conversation earlier rather than later. And maybe, she can uh, help me, maybe act as a bouncing board for my ideas, and maybe think about something that I'm not thinking because I'm too close to the problem. She's looking at it from the outside in, and I'm looking at it from the inside out. So maybe she can help me. By she, I mean, any other person. It could be a brother, father, mother, whoever it is. So she is just, I'm referring to my wife. That's all. So, uh, and they can help you, and they can maybe suggest some things to you. Uh, but there was a time when I was going to lose my job, and I actually, uh, my wife also works I work in the pharmaceutical industry. My wife does too. And she was able to actually uh, send my referral to internal referral to some of the people that, were looking for people like me. So they can help you, and you can start preparing financially, you can start preparing mentally. So I would say, it's better to have the conversation sooner rather than later, and uh, get into it immediately. Don't beat around the bush. Just get into it. I think that's how I would approach it.
Absolutely. And you mentioned a couple of things. First of all, a crucial conversation is something it pretty much is absolutely necessary, right? So avoidance of it is just going to cause harm, right? You kind of touched on that. No matter what, the longer you put it off, the worse it's going to be. But before just jumping into it, like you said, just get to it. Yes, I guess, but you do want to, and you said this, you do want to prepare for the conversation. You want to either take some notes, know what you're going to say with this person, because what can happen in a conversation like this is people can take offense, right? You or the person you're speaking to can get heated, they can get upset over having something come up that they're not prepared for. And then that gets emotions flowing, and emotions flowing can create a tense situation.
Mhm.
And it's an argument rather than a conversation. So you do want to be prepared and, expect that this conversation might not go the way you expect. So just be prepared, because I mean, these conversations are, you have it or else, you know what I mean? In other words, or else something worse is going to come along. And then you also mentioned the same thing, and I'd like to go into it a little deeper, is that no matter who you're talking to, whatever the purpose of the conversation, there are three type conversations that I see you having. First of all, maybe it's a friend, it's a person who's close to you, but they're not, an intimate relation. It's a friend, somebody you care about, or vice versa, somebody who cares about you. They're going to come to you with a conversation that maybe you should have, maybe you shouldn't have, right? But like, so maybe your friend is causing you harm. It's a toxic relationship. You don't want to end this relationship because you value their friendship. So, you know, you want to consider that friend. Is it necessary to have this conversation? Chances are it is. I mean, if it's toxic in this case, you want to do something about it, but you want to be delicate. You want to be considerate of that person so that you're not going to ruin the relationship. You're going to, in all of these crucial conversations, it's a matter of feedback, right? You're giving this person information so that they can improve, or together you can improve the situation, right? So it really is, maybe you could avoid it, this one, right? But then you have to deal with the toxic relationship or whatever the circumstance that we're talking about may be. So if it's a friend, you do want to be a little bit delicate in delivering this kind of conversation. But then there's the loved one, right? Your intimate partner, or somebody who is very close to you. So like you said with your wife, when you were talking about your job issue, if you avoided that, it's just going to cause a strain on the relationship. It's going to put difficulties and maybe even end the relationship because you've kept it secret, right? So it's definitely a necessary conversation because this person is important to you. You want to maintain that relationship no matter what. You want to maintain that relationship. So this person is very important to you. But again, like I said, you don't want to let it get heated. So definitely come as prepared as you can. So maybe, knowing that this might be timely, with this relationship with you at work, you want to tell your wife as soon as possible. But it might take a day or two to gather your thoughts and take some notes. And, you wouldn't want to take any longer than that. If it's something that's a little more intense, not so timely, maybe take a week. You know what I mean? Be prepared to have this conversation. And then there's the work relationship, whether it be a team or whether it be, you have to speak to an employee, or you have to have a difficult conversation with your boss, right? Because you need some time off or something like that. You've got to be respectful, right? You have obligations at work, whether it be in a team or whether you're speaking to your boss. You have obligations to fulfill. You have time that you owe to the work. You have to be respectful of your coworkers or your boss or your management. Or if your boss, you have to be respectful of your employee and their mental health and the concerns that they have. So, of course, you want to be delicate, but respectful. You have to understand each person's dynamic, and maybe even going a little bit further and saying, understand what the other person's needs are, right? What's in it for them? We all think about what's in it for me. Well, if you can look at it from the other perspective and think about whether it's your boss you're talking to, employee you're talking about, or coworker or team member you're talking about, knowing what they're looking for out of this conversation helps you go in a little more armed and deliver it so that they're able to, again, you can walk out and feel comfortable that you've done what you can and delivered this in the best method that you can, so that you can come up with some kind of resolve. So those are just three things that I thought about, like three different areas where you have to treat each one just a little bit differently, but you have to have the respect of the person involved. So
Yeah, I agree.
So as I'm listening to the two of you discuss when you would go into a crucial conversation, yeah, I definitely agree about preparing yourself. Finding the right time is definitely important. And, being able to open up and, in some cases you might be in a situation where there might be a compromise that's going to happen. And so in the example we gave with the job, I was thinking through my mind, well, what if I were to hear that my husband was going to lose his job and he had to come to me and talk to me about it? When that could happen is you're waiting to have that conversation, because what if I'm a worrywart and I'm going to go, oh my gosh, the sky's falling, we can't pay anything, and how are we going to pay for college and this and then I go off the rails, and let's say that I'm a person that's like that as a partner, and so that whole being able to frame the conversation and have it at the right time, and to come at it with I know this is going to be some difficult information and I don't want you to worry. I want you to know that I thought this through and I have a plan of what could happen if this thing that I'm thinking is going to happen. So sometimes you are also creating a safety zone for how the person is going to receive it. If you can anticipate a little bit how a person might typically receive information, you can also structure your conversation around that as well. And now that's not to say you should assume that someone's going to take the information and go to that extreme, but they could. So it helps to take that time to reflect on, when I give this information, how might it be perceived or received, and what might I need to remember to communicate as I'm having this conversation. So if you don't mind me asking, on when you did have that conversation with your wife, did any of that play into how you approached her? Did you take that into account, and did it come out in the way that you had anticipated? As far, because you said do it early and often, rather than waiting until it comes out in some other shape or form.
Yeah, so in my particular situation, actually, I was very fortunate in the sense that, I found out about 6 months ago that I was going to be laid off, in the sense that I found out in December of 2009, that I was going to be laid off in June of 2010. So I had 6 months to prepare. And so that helped, because I had some time. And, I had already, we had already been made aware in the company that, because our company just acquired another company, and we knew that there was going to be some restructuring, some layoffs. We didn't know which company was going to have the more impact of it. But we sort of knew, as when companies get acquired, usually, cost savings and duplicate positions are usually eliminated, facilities are eliminated, etc., etc. So that was the other thing. Like we knew ahead of time, so having time helps. And then also, like, having my wife working in the same industry also helped, because she was kind of aware of what was going on in the pharmaceutical industry in general, not just my company in particular, but like in general, the pharma companies were, all of them. 2008, the recession was coming, the real estate bubble had burst. Everything was dropping like crazy. Stock prices are dropping like crazy. So there is the economic environment also that was contributing to it. But like, in situations where you don't have enough time, I think at that time, it's all the more important to have the conversation immediately, because, you want to make sure that, like, if you're going to get 2 weeks, 1 month, whatever amount of time, you prepare accordingly. The other thing is also, what the reasons are behind it. If it's your performance, that's a different story. If it's just that, the company is going through a difficult economic time, that's a different story. So I think all those things need to be, because sometimes, like, you may be having some employment performance issues, and maybe your wife or husband is not aware of it. And the reason you're going to be laid off is because of your performance. And so that could be something also, again, that's a difficult conversation to have. But that also needs to be had, because, and that could happen anytime. It doesn't have to be bad economic times or acquisition by your company. If your performance is bad, it could happen anytime. So, and again, that you won't have too much time to prepare for it. So I think it all depends on, how much time you have, what the situation is. But if you have time to prepare, that definitely helps. Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. Having all the information at your disposal and speaking to it right away, it's always going to serve you to have more time. It's when you don't have enough time that things go south.
Yeah.
So I want to take the conversation now to another area that's a hard conversation to have. And it's all about what is the best way to give feedback to somebody. So let's say you got to tell someone or share with something of negative informing someone of something negative or something that you need to change. Can you think of a time where you've had to maybe give someone or share with someone something that was negative, and and what you found either worked really well having that conversation, or something in hindsight when you look back it didn't work so well, because sometimes it's easier to tell a story when we do something that doesn't work so well, what not to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if you wanted me to jump in or RJ to jump in, but
Continue. You've got it. I'll talk after you.
okay. Okay. So I think, well, if you're talking about an employment conversation, and it doesn't matter whether you're on the receiving end or the giving end, uh, but typically, at least in my employment history, typically what I have been through is that, you usually have regular conversations with your supervisor anyway. In my current job, I have my one-on-one with my supervisor every week. And so if there is something happening, performance wise, that she's not happy or I'm not happy or he's not happy, whatever the case may be, you get a chance to talk about it every week. And, uh, so it's not like, oh, you find out all of a sudden that like, oh, my performance is bad. So uh, ideally speaking, you had these conversations on a periodic basis. Now, but different companies and different managers have different, ways of working on this. In one of my previous companies, we used to have mid-year reviews and then annual reviews. So, I mean, I would say formal reviews. I mean, there was always informal conversations that we had, but these were the conversations that we actually had to document on an HR form or or we had to enter them online. So they were being, HR was being copied on it. So in that particular situation, I think it's a little difficult because 6 months go by and then you have not had the conversation, and say the person's performance deteriorates from mid-year to end of the year, uh, and then end of the year comes around and then the person finds out that they are not getting a good rating or not getting a raise or whatever it is, then it is a surprise for them. But like I said, ideally speaking, even though you're not having the formal conversations, you're probably having informal conversations and providing them input saying, hey, look, you know what, this is not something that you should have done. Or and usually when I was a supervisor, I always believed in positive or constructive criticism, and I always uh, also talked about what things they were doing well and what things they were not doing well, instead of just saying, oh, you know what, the things you're doing well are expected anyway, but the things you're not doing well, I want to remind you. Uh, it's kind of like, the person is drowning and you're saying, oh, you're drowning, oh, you're drowning. And, instead of saying, let me help you, let me throw you a tire, or okay, whatever the case may be, instead of just, or like, I also think that you have to empathize with their situation because you don't know, what they're going through. I'll personally tell you, this, many people are like very happy that COVID happened because they can work from home, their commutes have gone down. They don't have to shower in the morning and turn on their cameras. But I actually had and I'm still having a tough time with this COVID and working from home. I mean, there's advantages and disadvantages, obviously, because, you can, like, I'm working for a company right now that is in Boston. So I would have never been able to do that if the pandemic was not there. I would be expected to come to work every day. But because of this remote possibility, I can bid on jobs in West Coast, East Coast, outside the country if I wanted to. As long as I do my work, I don't think it would matter. But I actually, personally don't like the remote working because I like person-to-person interaction. I like the interaction of going into somebody's office or having lunch with somebody or having a cup of coffee with somebody or discussing something in a meeting physically with somebody. Now, like in my current job, I mean, people don't even turn on their cameras. In my previous job, actually, it was mandatory to turn on the camera, and so at least you got to see people. But in my current company, I mean, you don't have to turn on your camera, so you hardly get to see who you're talking to. Uh, so I think you don't know what the person is going through. If the person is depressed or if they have some uh, thing going on at home. So I think you need to empathize with their situation, try to find out. Now, you cannot let, they have to be professional about it, and they have to be able to cope with it or find some way to, but it's easier said than done. So anyway, I feel like you need to understand where they're coming from. And like I said, be able to give them regular feedback, and always also highlight the positive things that they're doing, instead of the negative things that, I mean, yeah, obviously you need to tell them what negative things they're doing, but you also need to, I'll give an example. I had an employee that, he was very punctual. He used to come to work early in the morning and like do his work, but he was very slow. But what he said to me was, "I'm not slow. I'm meticulous. I make sure that there are no mistakes in my work." And so it's, again, there's two different ways of looking at things. So I think that's what you also need to consider.
Wow, honey, you took all the words right out of my mouth. You left me with nothing else to say.
Sorry.
Except that, you know what? I could tell you're getting used to the comfortable working at home because I can smell you from here. I'm kidding, but you're right. You know what? We get so comfortable with this new environment, this new work, the work ethic that we have, where we don't have to be so diligent in our in showing up. Really, like you say, we don't have to put our camera on, so we might have a bad hair day. We might wake up and, like you say, not have to shower or not have to shave and not have to, be physically there, right? So we don't have to, do the shirt and tie and show up as a professional might be. But as far as feedback, so let's think about it this way: is I had a mentoring conversation today. I met with a mentor. And the entire purpose of the conversation was about my growth. How can we look? We're doing some great work right now, but how can we make it better? What am I missing? What am I not figuring out? And then, so obviously, I have to go in prepared for some. Well, if the mentor is any good, they're going to be tough with me, right? They're going to pick out those things that they've noticed and that are going to help me move forward. So I have to go in with the attitude of, I'm here to grow. I'm here to learn. They may tell me some tough things. I need to be prepared for that. So that was my attitude. But here's the thing. They would need to look, the person delivering the feedback, they need to get permission, right? To tell you things. So, lots of times in that mentoring conversation, or when you're, meeting with an employee, or a prospect, or whatever the case may be, and you have to deliver that feedback. It's like, well, do you mind if I tell you this? Do you mind if I can, just go to this direction for a second, so that you get their buy-in, right? Because look, if they're there for feedback, they're going to be open to it. But by asking them, you now get them receptive. You get them into a position to understand that the next thing I might say, it might seem like it's personal, but it's not personal. It's just a matter of, look, you need to know this information. You've asked for this. That's what we're here for. So that the delivery doesn't come off as malicious or harmful intent, right? It's just a matter of, here's what you need to know in order to move forward. So I was prepared for that conversation today. My mentor asked me several times, do you mind if I tell you this, or do you mind if I, get critical for a second? And of course, I'm like, please do, because I need to be open to that if I'm willing to grow, if I'm willing to see things that I don't see myself. And that's the whole point of that mentor coach relationship, is they're there to pay attention. So my mentor came prepared. She went and she was looking at the things we're doing, how I'm showing up, my social media profiles, things like that, so that she could be critical. She could be able to examine it from a secondary person, and not just from a secondary person who's, this is a person I trust. This is a person who has more authority than me as far as I'm concerned. But she also came to me from the perspective of the audience that I'm trying to reach, right? The people that I'm trying to talk to. So she was able to look at it from that perspective and give me the feedback of, look, if you want to reach people like me, here's how you need to come across. Here's what you need to do. You need to be a little more professional. You need to show up and project yourself as an authority, that sort of thing. So these comments are, if we allowed ourselves, we would take them personally. But because you come into it with the matter of, I want to grow, I want to learn from this, it comes off as again, a little more delicate and a little more professional.
Those are really good points, RJ. I'm listening to speak about the feedback from your mentor, and you said that I take them as an authority. I trust in the delivery of their message, and I'm here because I want to learn and grow. So when you have those three ingredients there, then even if they give you something that's a little hard to take in, that something that you need to work on, it's going to be taken much differently because they asked your permission. They gave you a flag. I'm going to talk about something a little more difficult. It's a little bit more delicate, but I'm sharing it with you because I want you to be successful and achieve that goal that you want to go out there and do. And this is what I'm observing, right? They gave you probably some observations, and they probably framed it in a way that if you do these things in this way, then you're going to get that result that you're looking for. And I know that you want that. And so that's why I'm here to give that to you as your mentor. I imagine she probably came across this way. And the reason why I'm really into that is I got some of the best feedback that was a little difficult to take in, where I entirely knew that it was true. And I knew it was something that I was working on, but to hear the person say, I think that you could go to this level, and there's this one thing that you have the power to control. You have ownership and power to control. And I would love to see you in your next interaction do X, Y, Z to try this out. And the interesting thing about that is I took it all in and it's like, okay, I have an opportunity to step up in a different way. I know that I'm working on this thing. And what was so nice, I guess, for me is that I practiced that thing that I got the feedback on, and on my very next opportunity. And this person happened to be in my presence when I was doing it. And they said, wow, you nailed that. You did this. And I noticed the big difference. Did you notice the difference? And I said, yes, I noticed the difference because you brought the awareness to my forefront in a way that was constructive. And you gave me, I guess, the encouragement to go try it to see how that could look like. And that was so powerful, having someone that would guide me through that conversation, because I was thinking about it. Well, what if I was open to hearing it? I took it as a personal attack in my character. Instead, I chose to take it as this is a learning opportunity. This person I really trust with their judgment. And if they're bringing it up and they're putting it out there, then I should listen to it. I should try it. And so, giving feedback is sometimes easier for us to do than it is to take it in. Taking it in can be really hard because, a lot of times we're giving it out and we're framing it. We're giving the good. We're, giving all of those things. We're asking for permission. But it's another thing to be on the other side where you're receiving it, and to be able to, I guess, practice that same care that you're talking about, that delicate piece, is to to be able to take it in that way, to be delicate on yourself, right? Because I could have beat myself up over. I'm like, oh my God, I should be
Yes.
doing this. I'm not doing it, because that's what we do, don't we?
Yeah.
We're our
So
negative
let me let me
voice a
let
lot of
me
times.
interject if I could,
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
I mean, look, you paid me a compliment last night that just floored me. It made me very ecstatic, made very happy and emotional in a good way, because this same mentor last year. Not criticize me again. You can take it as criticism. That's the way you want to be. You take it as personal. Like I said, it can wound us because it really, when she told me this last year, it hurt my heart. It was like a stab to the chest, going, "Oh, really? Come on!" But so this mentor told me, "Look, you need to start showing up. If you say you're going to do something and you don't show up, you cancel, whatever. People notice. People are paying attention." And so I went, wow, but here's something, I can do something about that. She's telling me this so I could do better, so I could improve, so I could start showing up on a regular basis when I say I'm going to. So last night you said that this is what I, admire most about you is that you show up when when you say you're going to, even if it's not convenient for you. And that's what brought this about was her, teaching me this about a year or so ago that I was failing in that area. I was, missing opportunities and coming off as not professional because I'm constantly have to reschedule, cancel, not show up. So I did a lot of work because it did hit me personal, but I could have taken that, like you said, as, I could beat myself up about it, going, oh well, I don't show up. I'm not very good at these sort of things, and who am I? Why am I trying to do this? No, I took it and said, no, I need to improve this area. I need to start showing up. I made a commitment to myself to start showing up because that's what it's all about. That's what these crucial conversations are all about. It's telling somebody something of importance enough to make them want to improve it or change it for the better.
Yeah, so there's the example there, I wasn't necessarily giving a suggested improvement. I was acknowledging what I had seen and that I really admired. And so that's a crucial conversation in itself. So, crucial conversation gets a bad rap sometimes because people think about it as conflict resolution. No, crucial conversation sometimes is sharing something that somebody should hear and know. And so thank you for bringing up that story. And, I knew about that background because I know that that's an area you're working on. So, when a person knows that they're working on somebody and you see it happening and getting improved and really the person's really working hard on it, I can't not share that because, I've been on the other side when I told my story a little bit ago where I was doing the thing that needed to be worked on. And then I got acknowledged and it felt so good. And so I gave that gift to you, RJ, because the experience I had, I wanted you to have it too, because there's nothing worse than beating yourself up because we all do it to some degree. It's just how long we hang out there, really.
And it validates us too, right? Like, again, it's something I worked on, it's something I wanted to improve, and you told me basically that I have improved. I have achieved what I've been working on. Now, it doesn't mean all of a sudden, okay, now I can stop, I can rest, I show up. You know what I mean? I'm acknowledged for that. No, now I need to step that up a little bit more, right? Find more opportunities to show up. That's why I did that post this morning, actually, was because I've often tried to find a way to get my message out there a little more, to talk to the people out there, maybe help my story and my situations to improve on others, right? So by delivering a little 5-minute message, maybe I can help deliver more value. So it was another way to step up, show up, and continue to improve based on feedback.
Yes. So I have one other question that I think we have time to go into tonight. And I want to talk about how do you go about repairing trust when it's been lost? I think that was a really hard conversation to have. And so I want to get your guys' take on this. I want to see what you guys have to say about it because I think it's important for people to hear about this one.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you know what? That can happen to any one of us, right? In fact, I'm not to single anybody out, but one of our other partners, I won't mention names, but one of our other partners came to me with a situation they were having where they had destroyed not necessarily the relationship, but the interaction in the relationship, because they ruined the trust in a person, right? I've done it myself, and that's why they came to me and said, "Well, what did you do in this situation?" Because look, I disappointed my wife. Not even a year ago, I disappointed my wife in a situation where she didn't know. Like, I truthfully lost her trust. You know what I mean? As far as she was concerned, I'd lied to her. It wasn't lying to me. It was just, not admitting something was going on. But to her, that was a complete lie, because I was not sharing that with her. And we pretty much share everything with each other. I lost her trust. So how did I go about getting that back? First of all, I changed the situation. Eliminate the problem. Let's get that. You know what I mean? Whatever the situation, I'm not going to admit what was going on between me and my wife. That's kind of personal. But eliminate the problem. Change it. They've brought this to you for a reason, right? So now you've got to change the situation. Take their words to effect. And then continue to show up for them. Continue to show them that, look, this is not a problem. This is not happening. I'm doing this for you. I'm changing, yes, for myself because I want to improve, but I'm doing this because you're important enough to me, right? So continue to just show all those ways that this person is important enough to you, that you care, that you want to change, that you want to improve, that you want to repair this relationship, whatever it may be. So just continue to show up day in and day out. And look, some instances you may be able to repair with just saying, "I'm sorry." You know what I mean? Just, I apologize. I want to, make things better. And maybe think that's enough to get over the situation. But maybe in some circumstances, it's going to take days, weeks, or even a month or so to try and rebuild, depending on the severity of the cross. You know what I mean? It may take time to rebuild, but with time, and as long as you're demonstrating that this is important enough for me to change, you can rebuild, you can repair that trust bond.
Yes, definitely being transparent and acknowledging that there is something that needed to happen and that you are going to make the changes, and then putting it into action, because it's too easy to say, "I'm sorry, I'll never do that again," and then the next interaction you're out there doing whatever it is again. That's not going to establish trust. It'll erode it.
Oh, for sure. And if I can go one step further before I know Ani wants to say something, but before I changed, before like 10 plus years ago, my wife and I were going through a hard time because we couldn't communicate, a lot of stress going on. But I was a very angry man, you know what I mean? So we'd get into an argument, we'd get into a fight. And then, a day or two later, we'd repair, we'd make up. And she says, "Oh, we're okay until next time." Because she knew there was going to be a next time. And that's no way to live. We can go on like that forever, but eventually she may have left me because there's always going to be a next time. So you need to show, like you said, that you are working to make the changes and improve.
Yeah, RJ, what I was going to say is that I agree with you 100%. And, I think when you lose somebody's trust, it's difficult to build it back, but it's not impossible, I think. Obviously it depends on what the situation was that led to the trust being broken. But I think, and I think even in really bad situations, uh, you know, there are always possibilities. I don't think anything is impossible. I think the the question, the approach should be like RJ and Linda, you were saying, is that it has to be something that you can demonstrate uh, to them and build upon it. Like say, okay, uh, you said, okay, I'm going to pick up our kids from daycare. Go pick up your kids from daycare, even if it means that you have to sacrifice something else. Once you made that commitment, keep the commitment. Or, my wife always, I am also very short tempered, and I, every morning I have a routine. I wake up in the morning, I have my tea, coffee, whatever, and then I spend almost an hour in meditation, in attitude of gratitude, things like that. And my wife always says to me, how come, you get so upset even though you're trying to be spiritual and things like that? And I said to her, I said, actually, I said, that's what tells me that I need to work on it more. I said, I'm not a saint. I'm a human being. I don't have my emotions under control, or, I, I don't, uh, I'm not yet at that emotional stage where I can say, okay, don't get upset, count to 10, whatever the thing is. But what I say to her is that in fact that, you know, actually emphasizes the fact that I need to keep doing what I'm doing because I'm not where I should be. Um, but I also tell her that, I'm making a conscious effort to do that, and she sees that, like, and so I think that's the other thing, right? You make a commitment, you keep it, then you show that you're working on it, or at least making an effort to fix the issue. And then, if there are other things that you can do to make it up, or, like, prove that you're making an effort, do that. I would say. um I don't know if that was a satisfactory answer or not, but that's
Oh,
what
it
I.
was.
I have a
It-
question for you then, Ani, because there was a crucial conversation, right? You say you're short-tempered. Meanwhile, your wife was brave enough to say, "Look, if you're spiritual, if you're working on these meditations and stuff, why are you not calm?" Right?
Mhm.
Did you take offense? Did you get upset? How did you handle that?
Well, the first time this happened, I did get upset, and I said to her, I said, I'm not a saint. I am a human being, and I said, you know, I'm not sure why I'm short tempered. Maybe it's just, uh, you know, I, I, I don't have patience. I don't have whatever it may be. Like, uh, uh, but I said to her, I said, if I knew that, I would, be fixing it, right? I mean, I don't know why this happened. So, and I'm working on it. So, and yeah, I did get upset, but one thing, I mean, she does realize that, like I said, I mean, she knows that I am doing this every day. She knows that I write in my journal about gratitude and things like that. So, I mean, from my side, the effort is there. And, like, my brother-in-law and my sister are also, like, they're actually at a higher spiritual level than I am. But my brother-in-law also said the same thing. He said, you know, uh, the level that you want to achieve is, say, 10, but you are at 0 right now. So, and you cannot expect, like, you cannot expect to go to 10 immediately in 1 day, 1 month, 1 year, whatever the case may be. Again, each person takes their own time to get to that level where, they are calm and nothing seems to bother them. And I think that's what I mean by I'm not a saint. I think, saintly people, they are very calm in a face of such situations, but I'm not there yet. And I don't know what my level is. I don't know if it's 0, 0.5, 0.7, I don't know. But I know that I want to get to that
10.
level 10, right?
Yeah.
And I'm taking the effort, right? And
Yeah.
so I think that's the important part. And I'll tell you something. I have become a little less uh, short-tempered, or maybe, I don't know, less short-tempered. That's double negative, but you know what I mean. I think I have definitely improved a little bit. Maybe not to the extent that maybe I should or my wife expect me to, but uh, But yeah, I mean, it's a gradual slow process. I mean, you cannot. It took me to 16 years to uh, get my education. So like 16, 20, whatever years to get to the point where I am at. So how can I expect um, calmness to be there in like overnight? It's going to take time. So
So if I can give one piece of advice based on what you've said and what, because look, we're human, right? We are. We're not robots, we're not saints. So when our partner or when somebody comes to us with this difficult feedback, yeah, the natural reaction is to get offensive, to get,
Mhm.
defensive. But you know what? If we're able to take that information, knowing that they're delivering it for whatever reason to help us improve, if we're able to accept that information, not as a personal attack, but as a means to improve, then we're not going to come back and attack that person and create a hostile environment. So, really, this is delivered for us for the opportunity to improve, right? Instead of thinking I have to, think of I get to, right? So we can improve that way. So,
Yeah,
Linda, I toss it back to you. I think. Sorry.
I'm just loving the conversation tonight. I'm a little bit biased because every day is a day where I'm having crucial conversations or guiding people how to go through them. And I really appreciate the two of you being open and honest to your experiences of where you've done a really great job about having that conversation, and maybe sometimes where it wasn't so easy. And honestly, having your wife tell you that why can't you be calm, and why you're short tempered. I mean, that one there is like, your personality, right? So that one, to RJ's point, you can choose to be defensive and take it personally and think it's an attack and go back at the person. Or as he said, we get to improve. It's our opportunity to improve. So it's about shifting that mindset um, on where you could be improving, and where you can end up, and it can be at this really great space. And the fact that you said, Ani, that it took you years to get through your education, well, to be that calm, collected, maybe not so short fused person, it's going to take you a while. And one thing that I just wanted to add before we close up today is the fact that as you're going through and you're going through those steps to get to that higher place, there's going to be times where you might fall back, you might mess up, you might regress. And that's where asking someone to support you as an accountability partner, or just even just as your partner, to when you do fall back, to help guide you back in the right direction, that nudge, that gentle nudge,
Mhm.
not the big kick in the pants, but the gentle
Mhm.
nudge to go the right direction. Because we're always going to be improving, we're always going to be growing, and it's never something that you're done with. I don't care who you are, you're never done, you never reach the top. you know 10 might be great, but maybe it's a 25 that you're going to be going for the rest of your life.
Yeah, yeah, I
Absolutely.
agree.
And so if I can just add one more thing, is that no matter where we are, look, you said, Ani, you said earlier, you know what, it's part of my personality. I don't know how to do anything different. It's just, look, we can always change. First of all,
Yeah,
do we want to? And then it will take work, but constant awareness of this is how I behave, but I can change. I can, become aware that I'm behaving this way and go,
Mhm.
no, I can't behave that way today. Let's see what else I can do. So we can change our behaviors, our attitudes, our personality. These can all be improved upon.
And so the last thing that I want to end with is, if you are wanting to practice going into crucial conversations and you need a guide to do that, the book that you can pick up and put into your library or your media player is Crucial Conversations, Tools for Talking When Stakes Are High. And that is by Joseph Grenny
Are
and a
you able to
couple of
show
other
that book for
authors.
people, Linda?
Yes, we get to model the book here. There we go.
Wonderful. Yeah, because it's a powerful book, and people are using it out there in the corporate world to how to improve their work spaces. So yeah,
yeah.
it's
What is the author's name?
Yes, there's actually several. It's Joseph Grenny,
Oh, that's
Grenny. That's the author's name, Carrie Patterson.
No,
Ron
that's okay. I
McMillan.
think
Yes.
one should be good. Thank you.
Yes, it's usually on Amazon at the top
And-
seller.
And I'll be honest, if you Google crucial conversations, it's one of the top
Okay.
selections. So you wouldn't have to worry about finding it. If anybody out there wants it, crucial conversations, and it's probably going to be the book that comes up.
Okay. Okay, great.
And now is the time that I want to thank everyone for viewing tonight's show. And I will encourage and invite you to join us on Facebook at the Men's Room Show and Support Group. And also, if you're watching tonight, or if you want to share with a friend, we're on YouTube, the Men's Room Show. And we go live Thursdays at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and anywhere else in the world that falls into line. And we want to thank you and have a great night.
And as we know, it's 2 a.m. Greenwich Mean Time, because we have somebody who joins us out in the west. Is it the west? No, the east at that time. So yeah, we're global at this point, right? Oh, can I ask something for the people out there?
Oh, yes, go ahead.
We invited the women to come out and join us at one point. But look, the people out there who may be watching, is there a topic you want us to discuss that you would love to have more information on, or situations that you want to be able to handle? What can we help you with out there just by having this conversation?
Thank you for adding that. That's perfect, RJ. And with that, good night.
Yep. Good night. Thank you.
Thank you.